And joining us now, Maryland Congressman Chris Van Hollen, the top Democrat on the Budget Committee, and Georgia Republican Tom Graves, who's been leading the fight in the House to defund Obamacare. So thank you both for joining us. Congressman Graves, help me understand how far you are willing to push here. If the Senate does not go along with this in 8 days, are you still going to insist that you will not support funding for the government unless Obamacare is defunded?
Well, John, thanks for letting me join you this morning. This is my inaugural Sunday show, so it's good to start it here. What is real, and I know this was about reality TV we saw a minute ago, is that the American families all across our country are facing the real impacts and negative impacts, harmful impacts from the implementation of Obamacare. So we do have 8 days to reach a resolution on this, and I proposed an idea that kept the government operating and open for an entire year while delaying and defunding Obamacare for a year so that we could work out those differences. But the realness of all of this, whether it's in my district or in Chris's district or anywhere else, is that American families are feeling the pain.
But my question was how far are you willing to push? If the Senate does not go along in 8 days, are you still going to insist no funding for the government unless Obamacare is defunded?
We are united around a very simple goal, and that is keeping the government open while protecting our constituents from the harmful effects of Obamacare. So we were going to do everything we can to protect our constituents. We have 8 days to do that. And my hope is that the Senate is going to act in a very positive way, because you've skipped a very important step. Your assumption is the Senate will not defund Obamacare, will not delay. That is your assumption.
All right, we're going to get Congressman Van Hollen on this, but I want to bring to you something that the Wall Street Journal, this is an editorial page that supports your view on the health care law, but thinks that the way you're going about this is just crazy. Here's what they wrote. Perhaps the only war strategizing more inept than President Obama's on Syria are GOP plans for the budget hostilities this autumn. Republicans are fracturing over tactics and even over the nature of political reality, which may let Mr. Obama outwit them like a domestic Vladimir Putin. I mean, this is not going to work, is it?
I mean, that's their opinion. That's an editorial, clearly, is what that is. But when you read the Chicago Tribune, they say delay and stop Obamacare. Warren Buffett says stop it now, start over. You have the 3 top leaders of the unions in our country saying this is not going to work. It's going to create a new underclass of workers that are under 30 hours.
They're
it's
not
just
your
Republicans.
Position, just to be clear.
It's not just Republicans. This is widespread. Even the Baltimore Sun says that it's going to cause 25% increase in rates in Chris's district.
John, look, there's a reason Republican senators like Senator McCain and others are saying this is absolutely insane, because the Republican proposition here is they're going to shut down the government if they can't deny health care to millions of Americans, including millions of kids who are right now benefiting from the Affordable Care Act, kids with pre-existing conditions who can no longer be thrown off of their insurance policies. That's right now. They're saying we're going to shut down the government unless we get rid of those protections, number one. Number two, I think Tom and his colleagues have to explain to the American people how they voted for a budget that includes all the Medicare savings from Obamacare, that includes the same level of revenue generated from Obamacare, and in fact would not even balance in 10 years if not for the Affordable Care Act. So here they're running around the country on the one hand saying, let's get rid of the Affordable Care Act, and yet they passed a budget that only comes to balance because of it. And that's misleading, and that's a hoax, and they should explain that to the American people, how you're trying to do 2 things at one time.
Well, I mean, it's clear that I was in my district during August listening to my
No, look, I asked a question about the budget, Tom. You guys passed a budget that assumes big parts of Obamacare are kept. And then you're going around and saying,
our budget also assumed that it would not be in effect as well.
No,
but how do you explain to your constituents
that's not the case. You assume all the Medicare savings in your budget.
But yesterday, John, I guess Friday, Chris voted to impose 25% increase in premiums on his constituents. And I wonder how you go back to your constituents and say you're willing to do that.
Whenever there's a flood these days, you guys in the Republican Party say that's Obamacare. What I find interesting, I think you also...
Let me get in here for just a second, because I want to ask you, Congressman Van Hollen, we had a poll this week, ABC News, Washington Post, that showed the health care law is about as unpopular as it's ever been. Let's look at some of the numbers. 52% say they oppose the law, 55% disapprove with the way it's being implemented, and only 11% in this ABC Washington Post poll say they believe that Obamacare is going to make their health care better.
Hey, John, the biggest poll we had on this was the last election. This was one of the most heavily litigated issues in the last election.
You guys won the last election, no doubt.
And President Obama said that he was going to implement the Affordable Care Act, and Mitt Romney said he was going to defund it. And the president won on that issue and other issues. I'm not surprised there's a lot of confusion. These guys have been running around the country demagoguing, scaremongering on this issue. They're not afraid that it's going to be unsuccessful. They're afraid it's going to be successful, and all that misinformation will be shown to be a fraud.
Something very important has happened since the president did win the election, and that he himself has amended, delayed, or repealed 19 components of his very own law. So if it's so good for America, then why is he delaying it for his friends in big business? Why is he delaying it for members of Congress like yourself? Why is he doing it? It's so good,
this is important because they're only 5% of businesses are even affected by this law.
So only the ones with big PAC checks.
Number two, let me ask you this.
But he's not going to provide protection for all of them?
You guys don't want to provide affordable health care under this system for millions of Americans, but you have a plan to take millions of people in Medicare and put them into Obamacare system. That's what you're proposing to do.
We're going to have to come back to continue the debate.
It's astounding.
I've got a very quick thing for you.
Yes, sir.
Is John Boehner going to be back as Speaker of the House in the next Congress?
I believe he will be.
You believe he will be. All right. Thank you very much, Chris Van Hollen, Tom Graves.
All right.
Appreciate it. Coming up,